Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock, joined by John Thurston. He is the Commissioner of State Lands for the state of Arkansas, but he is also the Republican nominee for Secretary of State. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You look like you're holding up well on the campaign trail there. You don't look tired. You don't have bags under your eyes.
Well, that's good.
It's a clean suit.
On the inside, it's been a long 2 years since I've announced, and it's like being on a job interview. Imagine, you know how job interviews are. Imagine being on one for a year to 2 years. And so, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it. There's a reason.
Quickly, because a lot of people don't all know everything personal about you, tell me a little bit about your family and what does John Thurston do on the weekends for fun?
That's a good question. I do fish occasionally. But my wife, I've been married to my wife now for 7 years. We have 5 children. We're a blended family. I claim all of them. But I live in Saline County and have lived there for most of my life, born and raised there. And, I was in the ministry for 13 years before running for office. I went to Bible college, and if you would have asked me 10 years ago what I would be doing in 2018, I would have told you ministry. And however, that's how I look at being elected to a position. It's still serving, it's ministry. So I enjoy it, and now I've been commissioner now for 8 years and hope to serve the state as Secretary of State. All
right, well, we will dive into that. Let's talk about one of the only controversy in this campaign so far. It centers around a boat that your Commissioner of State Lands office purchased to execute some statutory functions there. Your opponent, Susan Inman, the Democratic nominee, has made issue of this from a report that came out. Tell me why did the office need a boat?
Good. Well, we have a waterways division. The Commissioner of State Lands is responsible for submerged lands in navigable waterways. We all know the Arkansas River, but there's many navigable waterways in this state. That dirt under the water belongs to the state, and that is under my responsibility or under my authority. After being elected in 2010, some waterways issues were coming up. Some on the Ouachita River, some just out here in Little Rock, the removal of the houseboat, which
everybody sees that driving across
the bridge. Which we did. We got a lot of
right.
complaints. So, and we're reactive. We do respond reactively to complaints. You know, the sinkhole in the Spring River, which took a man's life just a few months ago. I spearheaded those efforts to fix that, and so, but early on. When I was elected, we were calling on the Game and Fish to meet us at the rivers, take us out. We were using their equipment. They wouldn't let us drive their boats. There would be a Game and Fish officer there, so we were tying up another agency to go address these issues. And so I took it upon myself, since I am the CEO of the office, and I said, well, we need a boat. We can't continue to call upon another agency. And so we purchased an aluminum boat from War Eagle, and that's a little bit of the history.
So it was obviously justifiable in terms of what your state, statutory requirements are for the office and everything. Do you think it's been a good expense? Has it been utilized well? I mean, it obviously will stay there after you leave the Commissioner of State Lands office. $30,000 for, I think it's been reported that there were 6 expeditions that you guys have had to make to investigate that. Is that a good use of the money in your estimation?
Well, the boat cost just under $22,000, and then of course there were other things that we used to furnish the boat. Life jackets, rain suits, because I'm not going to have the staff go out and not be prepared for the elements. Sure. And of course, I personally have never been in the boat. Our staff has. Was the purchase warranted based upon how it's been used? Well, we could really debate that for a long time because, again, we're reactive. I can't tell you how many complaints we will get tomorrow or next year or the year after. I'm glad I purchased the boat, and here's why. So that we could address it today, and the next commissioner will not have to go down this road. Yep. And again, it belongs to the office, and it's not a toy. It is not a, quote, bass boat. I mean, I suppose you could fish out of it. But it is a tool when the need arises.
I just want to make clear for everybody too. I mean, there was definitely nothing illegal done.
Sure,
in the process
absolutely
of this.
not.
So tell me why you want to be Secretary of State.
Well, the learning curve for a constitutional office is huge. I can tell you that. When I was first elected in 2010, I was green. I was as green as they come, and.
But you've been dealing with politics in the ministry, I'm sure.
Sure, politics.
It's a pretty good.
Politics is everywhere.
For that.
That's
so,
true.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have more to offer. I'm 45 years old. I have run a constitutional office. I've been responsible for an annual budget of $40 million. Have returned around $130 million to the counties, which go to fund public education, and have been through the budget processes, the legislative processes, how to get, bills passed, how to kill bills, to keep bad bills from passing. Have great relationships with the counties, municipalities, and even federal folks at the federal level. And so I just believe that my 8 years running the office of Commissioner of State Lands, which they're different offices, obviously, but I know how to implement systems and controls, policy procedures to fulfill my responsibility.
Let's talk about some of the issues that will be up there to work with on Thursday. According to my sources, this news just broke as we're sitting here on the set here. The state Supreme Court has upheld the voter ID law that the state legislature passed. There will be a constitutional amendment proposal out there for voter ID. Has overwhelming support from the public. Tell me why or why not we should have voter ID. Some people say it is a solution in search of a problem. Do you have that, adopt that attitude?
No, I don't. Just simply because I believe that elections are the most important thing that government does, and it is the bedrock of our republic. Is it the end-all, get-all answer to everything, and now is all of a sudden voter fraud going away? Well, no. I mean, we'll always probably have pockets of voter fraud. But it's simply a body count is what it is. We want to know, and of course the legislature's passed it and it's going to be on the ballot and it's polling well, it should pass. But I believe reasonable people want to know that the person that shows up and checks the box is who they say they are. Because one vote that is not legal, I suppose, if someone, it cancels out another vote. So if I vote illegally, show up and just vote, that cancels your vote. And so how important is a person's vote?
You're assuming that we're not voting
well,
for the same
we may
candidate.
vote the same. I don't know. But
I understand your logic on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it may not mean much in a presidential election with so many people voting, but I have seen many JP races, county races, state rep races, which come down to just a handful of votes. And so every vote should be counted, every vote, and the tally should be accurate. So I would argue, since we agree probably that elections is the most important thing that government does outside of military or defense. So what's the most important part of elections? Is it timeliness? Do we have to know by 10 o'clock what the results are? Is it clarity? Do we have to spell the names perfectly? Well, we should. But if there's a letter left off, it's not totally end of the world. Is it ease? Is it so that folks can vote easily? Or is it accuracy? And so I say that accuracy is the most important part of an election, and our current system, or our current model, where you show up and you vote, is the most secure and most accurate, in my opinion and in the opinion of those who run the elections. But however, you may want to talk about vote. Yeah. Talk about.
But talk about some of that. I think one of the things that the Secretary of State can make a difference in is the fact that we do have low voter participation in the state, in the country. I mean, it's not where it is in other countries where there are people that maybe appreciate that right to vote a little bit more. We have become accustomed to it. What would you do as Secretary of State to encourage more voter turnout, particularly among younger voters, which is where, when you look at the demographics, is where the deficiencies are largely?
Well, it comes down to education. There is an education division in the Secretary of State's office where they do go into the schools. I would like to go into the schools more and hold little mock elections, take some voting equipment in there, and especially the ages of 16 and 17. You know, they go in there quite a bit for the young ones, but right before 18 is, you know, that's when their wheels should begin to really be turning, and their interest in being involved in elections should be enlightened. And so I would like to target, you know, that age group a little more, 16, 17, the high school age, and just begin educating them on the process and the importance of voting.
I'm going to throw an idea out there to you because I've had this idea for a while. I've talked to a lot of people about it. I think there would be, and you just can ponder this. I won't ask you to take,
sure.
well, you can take a position on it.
Sure.
I think it would be a good idea. You have to be 18 to vote, but there's nothing that would preclude 16 and 17-year-olds from being able to be poll workers. The law doesn't allow for that now because it only allows for people that are voting age, but you could get young people into the channel of understanding how
Sure.
the electoral process works.
Sure.
You wouldn't have a whole polling place full of 16 and 17-year-olds,
Right.
but to pair some 16 and 17-year-olds around that could encourage some democratic
Sure.
participation.
Sure.
It would require the state legislature to make a change in the law,
Yeah.
but I throw that out as a proposal.
Even as
out
an
there.
intern level type of poll worker,
Sure.
if you will, possibly. But
I
something
don't know
to
a
get
16
them.
and 17-year-old that wouldn't take $100 a day and get out of school for the day to go watch people vote. I mean, I think that would be
Right.
enticing to a lot of
Yeah,
folks.
now that may be hard to pass that one. I don't know. Yeah.
All right, I throw that out there as my idea for
Yeah.
civic responsibility. Are you worried about election interference? We've obviously had 2 years worth of conversation about Russians interfering in elections. Are you worried about the integrity of Arkansas's election process? How would you work to guard against that?
Sure. A lot of talk about Russians over the past couple of years. And no, I am not concerned at all about Russian hacking. Reason being, our equipment never goes online. It's never on a system, never on the system. And so it is impossible for a Russian to hack our equipment. The new equipment that is being purchased, of course we have 21 counties that still need the new equipment, prints out a hard copy, and so you can see how you voted, and then you know, we file it, if you will. So there's an audit trail, there's a paper trail, not only with the machine. You know, the Russians did attempt to hack into our voter registration rolls in a couple of states. And the federal government is working on some blockchain technology to help combat that. But there will always be attempts to hack into our voting systems, always. And that's why, in my opinion, you know, the system that we have, not going online, is the most secure.
An issue that the next Secretary of State will get to be a part of, maybe be a part of, is being on the Board of Apportionment, figuring out new district lines for legislative seats. The Arkansas legislature gets to control where the congressional districts will go, but I'm sure there will be some leaning on the Secretary of State's office for some data in that respect as well. There could be an independent commission passed by voters. There's at least been approval for one to start circulating a petition. Would you support an independent commission being responsible for drawing legislative and congressional lines, which is what the proposal suggests?
As far as support, I would probably stay out of that, to be honest, especially as Secretary of State, and let the people decide. Let those who are for it fight, and let those who are against it fight. I just think it's a little bit humorous that the movement that's going on now, I have a question. What is broken and why now? When all of a sudden it appears that Republicans may be able to draw the lines for the first time since Reconstruction. And there is no such thing as an independent council. They're appointed by someone, and so, and they are influenced by someone. So the elected official is the nearest to the people. They can, I mean, the people can vote you out at the next election if you know, act up. Well, independent councils, you can't unelect them. You can't vote them out. And so, but my question to those who are for it, what is broken and why now? And is it because now that Republicans may draw the lines? Is now it's broken all of a sudden? So,
well, I'd say two things on that. One, I think this is a national movement that's just found its way to Arkansas. You've seen some legislative redistricting in other states that have led to these independent commissions. And secondly, if the Democrats drew the lines in 2010, 2011, and all of the federal offices and all of the congressional offices and all the constitutional offices and supermajorities in the legislature are Republican. The Democrats probably didn't draw those lines too well, I would say,
well,
in
all
2011.
All you have to do is go look at the maps and judge
yeah,
for yourself.
The data does dictate some of that. All right. He's John Thurston. He is the Republican nominee for Secretary of State. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. That's all for today's program. I'm Roby Brock. We will see you next time.